तो आभार आपका। और इससे पहले कि हम अगला सेशन शुरू करें, एक पुस्तक का विमोचन हमें कराना है। डॉक्टर संजीव कुमारी, आप जल्दी से नज़दीक आ जाएं। डॉक्टर संजीव कुमारी, डॉक्टर प्रमोद कौशिक जी, बनवारी लाल जी, अनिल कुमार जी, आप भी नज़दीक आ जाएं, क्योंकि अगला जो सेशन है हमारा पुस्तक विमोचन। सुलगदी धरती, सुलगदी धरती पंजाबी की ये पुस्तक है जिसका लोकार्पण ये पुस्तक का जिसका विमोचन हो रहा है, सुलगदी धरती पंजाबी की ये पुस्तक है। हिंदी में भी ये पुस्तक लिखी गई है झड़ते पत्ते के नाम से। बहुत ही पर्यावरण से संबंधित किताब है। जोरदार तालियां आप सबकी तरफ से डॉक्टर संजीव कुमारी जी के लिए, जो पर्यावरण विद के रूप में जानी जाती है। 700 दोहे यानी सतसई है, 700 दोहे इनके इस पुस्तक में है। जोरदार तालियां इनके लिए। लिटरेटी में आना, अपनी पुस्तक का विमोचन कराना किसी के लिए भी एक बहुत बड़ा सपना हो सकता है। बहुत बहुत आभार। और देवी और सज्जनों, अगला जो हमारा सेशन है वो मैडम की, अपनी मैडम के बारे में ही है, डॉक्टर सुमिता मिश्रा जी। बार बार परिचय देने की जरूरत नहीं है, लेकिन इससे पहले मैं आपको बताऊं कि तुषार कपूर जी हमारे साथ हैं। जोरदार तालियां उनके लिए होनी चाहिए। तुषार कपूर साहब बॉलीवुड अभिनेता हैं। उनकी पहली पुस्तक बैचलर डेट माई जर्नी, जो अभी अभी आई है, उस पर बात होगी, पूरा सेशन होगा। फिलहाल आपके सामने डॉक्टर सुमिता मिश्रा जी या राधिका शर्मा जी। डॉक्टर सुमिता मिश्रा जी के बारे में बताएं कि एक बहुत अच्छी लेखिका के रूप में इनकी एक पहचान है। 5 पुस्तकें प्रकाशित हो चुकी हैं। अ लाइफ ऑफ लाइट, जरा सी धूप वक्त के उजाले में, और लम्हों की शबनम, जिसकी बात सुबह हुई थी, बेस्ट सेलर उनकी बुक है। 2024 में चंडीगढ़ साहित्य अकादमी से अवार्ड ऑफ रिकॉग्निशन इनको मिला है। सामाजिक मुद्दों को लेकर, महिलाओं से मुद्दों को लेकर खुलकर अपनी राय व्यक्त करती हैं, लिखती हैं, और सोशल मीडिया पर तो उनकी सृजनात्मकता आप सब देख ही चुके हैं। अंग्रेजी में बहुत अधिकार के साथ लिखती हैं। लखनऊ से ताल्लुक है, तो इनकी भाषा में जो उर्दू की ताजगी है, तासीर है, वो भी हमें दिखाई देती है। बहुत बहुत आभार मैडम, मंच पर आप हैं। और इनके साथ बात करेंगी आराधिका शर्मा जी, जो 3 दशकों से लिख रही हैं। लेख इनके पुस्तक, समीक्षाएं, कहानियां, फिल्म समीक्षाएं हम पढ़ते रहते हैं। गर्ल्स एट गपशप नाम का जो कॉलम है द ट्रिब्यून में, वो लगातार हम देखते रहते हैं। रेडियो शोज के लिए पटकथा लिखती हैं। सुनीता विलियम्स पर एक पुस्तक इनकी किसी के साथ मिलकर आई है, जो बहुत ही पॉपुलर हुई है, तो वो बात करेंगी मैडम के साथ। आइए कोई देरी ना करते हुए ये बातचीत शुरुआत करते हैं। शुरू कीजिएगा मैडम।
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening, and I welcome you to this wonderful session with Dr. Sumita Mishra, Ink and Imagination, Crafting Poetic Words. Well, I'm actually very excited because this is the first time since the inception of the Literati 12 years ago that you have consented to speak about your literary work at this forum. And you conceived the festival. The Literati was a little baby. Now it's going to become a teenager. So how has the journey been? Has it been all like a bed of roses, or has there been some angst and some, irritations along the way?
Actually, your question is a little confusing because I don't know if you're asking about my journey, my literary journey, or Literati's journey. So which one?
Literati now, and
Okay.
how you've kind of taken it forward.
So Literati is the brainchild of the Chandigarh Literary Society, and it's always been teamwork. And yes, it has been a lot of ups and downs, a lot of challenges, because let's be honest here, Chandigarh is not exactly a very literary city, you know. We prefer shopping and butter chicken and, party evenings. मतलब इफ़ यू वांट चंडीगढ़ में कोई भी नया रेस्टोरेंट खोल लो, वो हिट हो जाएगा. But it's been difficult to get people to come out just for the sake of discussing books and ideas. And although we have over the years gotten, I think, practically every big name in Indian and world literature that is there on today's stage, it's been, I think, it's been like a plant that's grown slowly over the years. And yes, every year I think literati has been getting bigger and better.
Well, it's just fabulous this time. So, Sumita ji, best-selling author and poet, able administrator, recipient of national awards by the President of India 3 times, and several other prestigious accolades. Founder, chairperson of CLS.
I get the picture.
The list goes on.
Yeah.
The most obvious question is, how do you manage it all? How much can a person pack into a single life?
But actually, I think it starts early. I was lucky. I come from a family where one felt relatively inconsequential because everyone was such a high achiever. I mean, my parents, and they were both brilliant doctors. So is my brother. There was just the four of us, and there was a strong grounding on excellence and compassion. I would say those were the two pillars on which we were raised, and I think one of the things that one just imbibed is that my father used to say that impossible is a word in the dictionary of fools. So I think that is state that basically you can, anything that you can think up of, you can do. Of course, at great personal cost, let me assure you, because there are only 24 hours, there is only the one person. But I think doing more also becomes a uh, bit habit forming, and the more you do, the more resources you find within yourself. And as far as my work goes, or the combination of literary stuff and work, my personal credo is that I find that the more value I add to the people around me, the more value I generate within myself.
That's
I
fabulous.
don't know if that makes sense, but
Yes.
that's how I operate.
So let's start from the beginning of your journey towards writing 5 fantastic books and becoming a best-selling poet. For those who don't know, Sumita's book of poetry, Lamho Ki Shabnam, has been a tremendous success. It has run into several editions and has been translated into Urdu, French, and Punjabi. When did you write your first poem, and how did your journey towards publishing your first book, Life of Light, begin?
I think I wrote my first poem when I was 9 or 10 years old, and with a doting father, he ensured it was published in the Pioneer, जो लखनऊ का अपना अखबार था, and he must have shown it to everybody who dropped in at home or at his clinic or in the hospital. But I was writing on and off. I was very involved in actually in doing exactly what I'm doing right now, all through college. Cultural activities were, I think, luckily उस टाइम पे attendance का कोई चक्कर नहीं होता था. So whether you went to class or not, you just had to, sort of get through the exams. And I was in Lucknow University, and uh, I had just topped the undergrad exams, joined MA Economics. So my father tells me one day कि आज तुम्हारे वो head of department मिले थे. He'd been out. कल रात में मिले थे वो. वैसे हाँ वो ही says प्रोफेसर शैलेंद्र सिंह. मैं कहा हाँ वही वही. तो ही सर मिले थे, तो ही सर मैंने उनसे पूछा कि बिटिया आपके डिपार्टमेंट में है, आपसे तो मिली होगी. सो वो प्रोफेसर शैलेंद्र सिंह पान खाते थे, तो वो लखनवी अंदाज में पान खा, सुना तो है पर देखा नहीं है अभी. कि सुना तो है साहबजादी आई है हमारे विभाग में, पर अभी तक उनके दर्शन नहीं हुए हैं. तो आई सेड हाँ अच्छा, नहीं मैं तो गई थी वेरी वेगली. तो पापा सेड नहीं, बट वो सही कह रहे हैं कि बेटा जब तुम रोज इतना टाइम लगाते हो यूनिवर्सिटी में, तो कभी कभी क्लास भी चले जाना चाहिए. तो आई सेड दैट्स अ फेयर पॉइंट, कभी कभी क्लास भी चले जाना चाहिए. सो writing carried on. The IAS happened, writing got discarded in the career and marriage and motherhood. And so I think, as it happens a lot with women, you turn to find yourself after some interregnum, after some hiatus. And so I published my first book as late as 2011, and that was thanks to the late Shri Kushwant Singh ji, who gave great encouragement. And I was very hesitant to place my writing in the public domain, especially being in this super serious kind of job. But he encouraged me a lot, and in fact, my first two books, both in English and in Hindi, have a foreword which he had penned, because he said, "Pata nahi kab publish karegi, main pehle ही लिख के दे देता हूँ तेरे को," and a handwritten foreword. So I think that was how it started.
So you've spoken, you've just touched upon Lucknow, and I know that you are, it kind of runs in your bloodstream. So would you like to speak a little bit about your growing up there and the special significance it has in your life, the city?
Well, actually, मेरा मानना है कि once a Lucknowi, forever a Lucknowi. Nawab Wajid Ali Shah की famous lines still echo, although unfortunately they didn't turn out true. You know, he used to say that लखनऊ फिदा है हम पर, हम फिदाए लखनऊ, ताकत नहीं आसमां में, हमें छुड़ाए लखनऊ. खैर, नौकरी में बहुत ताकत होती है. So I think I've now spent more years outside, but yes, it is. I think it's a state of mind. Lucknow is an ehsaas जो आपके साथ चलता है खुशबू की तरह, and I'm happy for that. And I've loved being in Chandigarh all these years, and maybe adding a bit of Lucknowi flavor to Chandigarh.
I would think that you've done a lot of that. You've written a poem also. Would you like to read that out? On Lucknow, I just happened
मुझे
to.
लग रहा है कि चंडीगढ़ के साथ थोड़ी सी गुस्ताखी होगी कि यहाँ चंडीगढ़ लिट फेस्ट लिटराटी में बैठ के अगर हम लखनऊ पे कविता सुनाएंगे, बट I'll just read a few lines. सुना था बचपन में ये शहर कुछ खास है, अलग इसका चलन और इसके अल्फाज हैं, जहाँ हम बड़े हुए वो माँ की तरह साथ चलता है, उसकी याद का परिंदा आसपास ही उड़ता है, वो खुशबू भरी फिजा की तरह महकता है, बिछड़े प्यार की हूक की तरह उठता है, वो दोस्ती की ठहाके की तरह गूंजता है, नए इश्क की कशिश की तरह सुलगता है, वो बड़ों के आशीष की तरह रूह में बसता है, नेकी की सीख की तरह दिल में जागता है. सच में वो शहर नहीं एक एहसास है, वाकई वो शहर कुछ खास है.
That is beautiful.
Thank you.
So, you know, you chose to write poetry. That's a genre that is that publishers often find very challenging to market. And you write in two languages, in Hindi and in English, where most people are comfortable with just one. So, why did you choose poetry? That is question number one. And how comfortable are you writing in dual languages? And there must have been a point of transition from one language to another. So, what was that point of transition?
सुबह माधव जी ने एक चीज कही थी कि माँ सरस्वती चुनती हैं लेखक को, उसी तरह जो कला श्रेणी है वो चुनती है कि आप किस माध्यम में लिखोगे, आप प्रोज लिखोगे या पोइट्री. एंड पोइट्री डेफिनेटली you do not choose, it is poetry that chooses you. And having grown up in a typical Macaulay environment convent where you learn only to value and celebrate a foreign language and not your own, I naturally thought and wrote in English first. But जैसा कि अक्सर होता है कि आपकी जब उम्र थोड़ी बढ़ती है तो आपको जो चीज़ें पहले आप सोचते थे कि आप अपने माँ बाप जैसे कभी नहीं बनोगे, आप ठीक वही चीज़ें कर रहे होते हो, और बल्कि उनकी बातें आप कर ही नहीं रहे होते, उनकी बातें आपको बेहद समझ में आ रही होती हैं. तो मुझे लगता है आपकी मातृभाषा भी उसी तरह है कि जैसे जैसे शायद आपकी उम्र बढ़ती है, ज़िंदगी का तजुर्बा बढ़ता है, तो उसके लिए भी एक नया लगाव, एक नई इज्जत, और आप पाते हो कि उसमें जो आत्मीयता है, जो एक स्पॉन्टेनिटी है, वो शायद किसी और भाषा में नहीं है. So I still write in both languages, but again, it's not I who choose कि ये मैं इंग्लिश में लिखूंगी और ये मैं हिंदुस्तानी में. The words choose कि what poem comes out in which language.
And I think it's the right time that I ask you, and I'm sure the audience is very, very eager to hear your poems. Maybe one in English if you've chosen one, and one in Hindi.
You know, I always find, and I think most of you will agree, that however brilliant a poem in English is, you somehow understand or relate to it better when you read it. It doesn't register when it's kind of recited. So I can give it a try, but I know it's going to be a very lukewarm response here. But anyway, and then I'll actually recite one Hindustani one. Before I talk about reading an English poem, I do want to share that I have grown up reading poetry, which is why I think I love to try and write poetry. I must have read every poet I could lay my hands on in English and in Hindi. Till this day, and you know, I wish I was part of the new curriculum forming committee. I feel that it is a travesty that we learn Shakespeare in India and we do not read Kalidas, and that it took an Englishman to translate Kalidas's works into English for the first time in 1769 or something, William Jones. So, and even today, these works are not accessible to the Indian student. So I think that's something that we need to, you know, really have a fresh look at. But anyway, I digress. I will read a simple, short poem, which is called Every Day. And it is just actually a very simple, straightforward poem. The everyday is beautiful. The everyday is beautiful, ordinary, yet life in place. Whether tethered to twilight's dreams, the dreams you once dreamt with your own waking sinews, or free, as a fresh dawn, free as a butterfly, halting on a whim on crimson flowers, blooming nonchalantly by the curbside. The dilemmas of living are all your creation. The dilemmas of living are all your own creation. The smudges of memory are more difficult to wipe clean than ink spilt on pristine paper. It's true, true feelings reflect their own beauty through time. Yet perhaps you linger too long on a story long over. Nobody cares or remembers. And this is talking about how important it is to embrace change in life. Nobody cares or remembers the twist that scarred you. Let it all go. Let it all go. It was meant only as divine play.
हाँ जी, प्लीज हिंदी में भी पढ़िएगा,
अभी या बाद में?
जैसे आपकी इच्छा। क्या चाहेंगी? We can do it later if you wish to. Okay, we'll do it at the end. Okay. So I was actually going to ask you about the literary and poetic influences during your formative years. A little more about that, perhaps.
Well, as I said, I loved poetry. My all-time favorite poem has to be Ulysses by Lord Tennyson. There are some lines from that poem which I regularly reread, simply because they are so inspirational. And can I share them? Okay, because I actually came prepared with those lines,
That's
more
like
than my own poetry.
Neki or pooch pooch.
So everyone knows the story of Ulysses, and this poem is written when he's back from all his travels and his conquests and his wandering, and he's feeling he's feeling restless, living a domestic life, living a life of mundanity. And so Lord Tennyson writes, this is the last stanza of that poem. Come, my friends. Come, my friends, 'tis not too late to seek a newer world. Push off and sitting well in order smite the sounding furrows, for my purpose holds to sail beyond the sunset and the baths of all the western stars until I die. Though much is taken, much abides. Though much is taken, much abides, and though we are now not that strength which in old days moved heaven and earth, that which we are, we are. One equal temper of heroic hearts, one equal temper of heroic hearts, made weak by time and fate, but strong in will. To strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield.
Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that. So I'm going to now move on to your public.
I just want to add one
Please,
thing.
please,
there.
please go ahead.
Very, the other two major, and there are too many books and authors. My only advice is to to young people if they're listening at all. But anyway, is to read as much as you can. You don't need to worry about the quality of what you're reading so long as you read. You will go on finding new things to read and to sort of tantalize your imagination with. But two books which held me in great good stead, especially through the challenges of my job, which is very multivariate, and at times it can be very stressful. One and they, they're two similar but different streams. One was Marcus Aurelius, who is the Stoic philosopher king, and his one book in particular called Meditations. That was my bedside reading, I think, for decades. And the other, surprisingly, I had read the Bhagavad Gita in college, and I don't think I had quite understood or grasped it. I thought it's kind of counterproductive to striving and to, seeking and to achieving success, because it's telling you, like, you might as well try, but then there's nothing in your hands, blah, blah, blah. But it's when I started working and reading and practicing it that I realized that it is the most beautiful inspiration and motivation to actually give your best and not seek to own or attach yourself to the results, but to give your best simply as karma yoga, and that itself is a form of God realization. So these two books have been major influences.
That actually also answers my question that how can you pack so much in a single life? Right. Thank you for that. So now I'm moving on to your public life a little bit. So I'm, as a very powerful woman who influences both public policy and public imagination, how do you think that women can gain more power and influence to correct the power imbalance in society?
That's a big one. But actually, as a woman in public life, I think I've been hearing variations of that question, or at least even thinking to myself. But I don't know. I just have three things to say, actually. One, I think the biggest role that, the most important role that there is for any woman is that of her parents. And if as parents we are not empowering our daughters, then we are failing in our absolute duty. Because I've seen women who are economically independent, well educated, taking home a salary, and they're still not mentally empowered because they have not ever gotten that validation or that self-worth inside of them to say no to things, to take decisions for their own life, or to be all that they can be. So the first, and that makes you realize that that kind of empowerment, and I can say that for myself, that it comes squarely from my parents, most of all my father, and that, that sense of self-worth. The second thing I want to say is that for all young women, that don't bother to conform. Do not try and fit into the mold, fit into the rules. Don't, because all those rules belong to an age, belong to a society that catered to men, that was made for men, that was made by men. It is not an adversarial equation, but the world is changing. And you have to be writing that change and not living by the old rules. So, thank you. So be a risk taker, be dangerous, do bold things, think outside the box. These may sound like cliches, but they're actually very difficult to implement when you might be the only woman in a room full of men time after time. And that's when you have to remember to speak up. And not speak up because you're a woman, but speak up despite it, because you have something valuable to say. And the third thing I want to say is that we've heard so much about feminism. I swear we need what is called masculinism. We need a complete re-education and re-engineering of men. Because we've been bringing women into the 21st or the 22nd century, and where are the men still in the 19th century? So I think what we need to do is re-educate men to be more emotionally aware, to be more secure, to be less controlling, to be less fragile, and to be happy in their emotional selves and in celebrating the women in their lives. We need men who are supportive and confident and at ease. And that is what is really masculine. That is what a real man is. Those are my three very short takeaways.
That's wow. That is very, very wow, actually. Okay. Okay. Would you like to share some of the projects and initiatives that you might have?
No, no,
No,
no.
nothing of that sort. Okay.
CLS अभी time ही नहीं है
Time
कि सरकारी projects की
Okay,
बात करें.
fine. So let me quickly do this. In one of your earlier answers or one of your earlier comments, you said you spoke about the trade-offs that women must make in their lives or need to make it, or sometimes make in their lives. Mostly they do. What kind of trade-offs are these? And would you have made any such during your journey as a woman and as a literary person?
Well, actually, I think my generation is the one. Okay, every generation feels कि ना वही सबसे ज़्यादा पिस गए हैं. But I swear, I think my generation has earned the right to say that because we were trying to be perfect daughters and trying to be perfect wives and trying to be career women also at the same time and perfect mothers because we were told that we can have it all and have it all to bhul jao. We must do it all and we must keep on doing it all. But ऐसा नहीं है. There is no doing it all and for my daughters, I have tried to tell them शुरू से decide कर लो कि क्या क्या तुमने नहीं करना है और वो पहले दिन से मत करना. Because once you start doing it, you cannot undo it, you can't stop doing it. So yes, there are no free lunches. And apparently, if you're a woman, not only there are no free lunches, often you don't even get the lunch you already paid for. Okay? So you slogged and thought you had earned that lunch and you still don't get it.
That's a sad but true thing. Sad but true.
So, but I think times are changing, and I think every, women are reaching their own new equilibriums, and which is a good thing.
It's a very good thing. Okay, because we're short of time, and I'm just going to ask you a couple of more questions. So a
मैंने
little
अभी
bird.
एक कविता पढ़नी है,
हाँ,
सिर्फ
अब वो
एक.
उसके लिए मैंने रखा हुआ है समय. वो कहीं नहीं जा रहा.
ठीक.
So एक छोटी सी चिड़िया ने मुझे बताया. Little bird told me that you have a significant following on social media, like over 1 lakh followers or something mad like that. Your words carry weight, and they're often quoted in newspapers. How have you become an influencer, and how does it feel to be an influencer?
Okay, firstly, I'm a little old-fashioned. I don't think I'm comfortable with the word influencer at all. Secondly, what I do write or post on social media is either their personal accounts, my personal thoughts and reflections, or updates on what I've been doing in professional life that might impact the public. And I'm very wary of this whole influencer thing because, again, I already said I'm old-fashioned. Because I think influencers are people who are usually either greenwashing things or just inducing people to buy more and more things. I mean, there are very few real, positive, doing good stuff influencers. It's usually, look what I found on this sale and look what I picked up from here. And it's all fast fashion. It's adding so much to the environmental junk on the planet. So that, and I'm happy if some of the things I say get quoted, and I hope it's for a positive reason and none other than that.
Okay, so I am going to ask my last question or questions, which are basically rapid fire questions.
Ooh,
Very quickly, very quickly.
okay.
So, a book that you wish you'd written.
The Golden Gate, Vikram Seth.
Wow. The first thing you say to yourself in the morning.
Good morning, beautiful.
I kind of tend to agree with that. Ghalib or Gulzar?
Ghalib, 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 Ghalib.
Okay. As a bureaucrat, I am.
Oh,
Ah.
I am very conscientious and demanding,
As a woman, I am.
loving.
Okay. And if you were to choose any of your a sangeetkar for a poem of yours to be translated, I mean, to be made into a song or a geet or a ghazal.
No, I wish I could write like Sahir Ludhianvi. That is what, I mean, if you're asking me.
No, I'm asking you which sangeetkar would that be? Which would be the music director you would choose to, yeah.
Music director. I like old Hindi songs, so कोई भी पुराने
Khayyam?
Khayyam, Yes, Khayyam would be nice. Yes, ghazals. He's done ghazals so beautifully.
All right. So I'm going to now let you read your poem.
Okay, this has been a lovely chat, and I hope we've not bored anybody because everyone is waiting to hear Tushar Kapoor Saab, and so we've actually been very punctual. We are ending bang on time despite starting late. ये एक हिंदुस्तानी की मेरी नई कविता है, इस किताब से मतलब पिछली किसी किताब से नहीं है, थोड़ी सी कड़वी है, बट अब जिंदगी की सच्चाइयाँ भी कुछ कड़वी ही होती हैं। इस कविता का शीर्षक है सब वक्त का खेल है। सब वक्त का खेल है, किसी रोज कौवा भी खुद को कोयल जान लेता है, अदना सिपाही भी खुद को सिपह सलार मान लेता है, जमाना जानते बूझते गलत को सही मान लेता है, ज्ञानी चुप्पी साधे हैं और मूर्ख दुनिया को ज्ञान देता है, कलयुग सच के पंख कुतर, कलयुग सच के पंख कुतर हर झूठ को उड़ान देता है, सियासी प्यादे हो तुम, सियासी प्यादे हो तुम चल लो, जो भी चाल हाई कमान देता है, कभी भूले खुदा की पहचान, कभी भूले खुदा की पहचान एक बच्चे की मुस्कान देता है, बुलंद ओहदा है बेकार गर, बुलंद ओहदा है बेकार गर वो हमदर्दी का ना फरमान देता है। और आखिरी दो लाइनें, जिंदगी में हार जीत है बेमायने लफ्ज, जिंदगी में हार जीत है बेमायने लफ्ज, वक्त वक्त सिर्फ कर्म का अंजाम देता है, सब वक्त का खेल।
Wow, wow, wow. So, okay, I think we've got the indication to, and thank you very much, Sumita ji. Thank you so much. I asked for a huge.
Thank you, Radhika. This was great fun. You've been a wonderful host.
Thank you very
Yes,
much.
Radhika, we had a very entertaining session. And ma'am, it's always a delight to listen to your poetry. But along with your perspective on a lot of things was actually one more word for woman, you know. So, and you set the tone for the next session. Our next session is also about societal norms and expectations. All often assume mothers to be the primary caregivers, but some dedicated and loving fathers are challenging the stereotype and taking on the role of a sole provider and caregiver for their children. Daddy in the